Chapter 41 just for a title. You are listening at NovelsNew. All hit either in the throat or in the heart. Regardless of whether they were wearing bulletproof suits or not, all those hit were killed. Link's body also moved at the same time. He jumped to the right and hid directly behind a pillar. He reached behind him with both hands and grabbed a throwing knife again. Did he use a throwing knife? No, but Link can still hit accurately, relying on the biological force field. Superman has a biological stance and can wrap up anything, such as large vehicles such as airplanes and ships, as well as small flying knives. The temporary extension distance was not far, because he didn't use it much, but when he returned home today and checked the weapons arsenal, he found that he didn't want to use these weapons. They were all brought back from the S.H.I.E.L.D. branch and were recorded in S.H.I.E.L.D. Link thought about it and finally gave up. Then he needed new weapons, either to go to Hell's Kitchen to find a batch, or to use other weapons. At this time, he thought of the biological stance. He tried it at home. The kitchen utensils at home were already fully equipped by Jessica. He randomly found a fruit knife and tried it. Sure enough, it worked, so he went to customize a batch of willow leaf flying knives. He is not telekinetic, so he cannot use the biological force field to recover the flying knives. He can only consume them continuously and use the biological force field to maintain accuracy, and he is not lacking in strength. The only trouble is that the throwing knives are consumed too quickly, and more will need to be crafted in the future, as well as special equipment designed to be loaded. After Link hid in the bunker, he did not stop. He instantly ran out from the other side of the pillar and kept moving. The position of the killer could not escape his eyes. He waved his hands continuously, and each flying knife began to harvest. Got up. In the terrace garden, Winston looked at the time. 5 minutes had passed and the sound of gunfire seemed to have disappeared. At this time, Karen's phone rang, and he hurriedly picked it up. Then a surprised expression appeared on his face, and he turned around and said, "Sir, all the killers on the first floor have been killed." "That man is coming up." Winston was equally surprised, while Santino was horrified and shouted, "This is impossible." "Nothing is impossible." Winston said a little calmer, "Do any of our guests want to participate?" "No sir, the guests who booked the room didn't care about $300,000, so they planned to watch the show from the beginning." Sharon said. Santino immediately said, "I can strengthen it to 1 million. It's too late." Winston shook his head, looked at Santino and said, "Now it depends on your manpower." Bang bang. At this moment, fierce gunshots were heard at the entrance to the terrace, and then after just 10 seconds, it became quiet again, and a figure appeared at the entrance. Link walked in leisurely, holding 2 throwing knives in his right hand. He smiled and said, "There are not many people. This little power is so weak that it couldn't even stop him for 10 minutes. Link looked dissatisfied. "This makes my road to fame not so dazzling." Winston said gently, "Mr. Lin is already dazzling enough, but now the problem has arisen. You are not only offending the Continental Hotel in New York, but the entire high table. Maybe you don't quite understand the meaning of this. What are you wearing? We'll talk about who I offended later. Now I need to talk to Mr. Santino Antonio." Link turned to look at the culprit. "Is it because you have lost face?" Santino understood what Link said, and he immediately said, "I can give you money, I can cancel the reward." No, you don't understand. You broke the rules. Matters at the gambling table should be resolved at the gambling table, but you actually hired a killer. You know how troubled I am. You think you are so powerful that you can harvest other people's lives without restraint, but now your life is in my hands. Of course, you can try to pull out the gun." Link smiled, but Saint Dino looked very frightened. That smile was like a devil, tempting this mortal to hand over his soul. "It seems you don't dare anymore." Link's tone was filled with disappointment. A flying knife was shot out directly and then inserted into Santino's throat. Link walked over and found a mobile phone. After checking the phone book, he found old Antonio's number and dialed it directly. "Hey." Old Antonio was ready to rest at this time. When he saw that the caller was his son, he thought he wanted to show off. Mr. Antonio, your son has paid the price, and now you need to pay the price. Link said. What? Old Antonio was stunned. Where is my son? There is a throwing knife stuck in the throat, with a frightened expression on his face, not so peaceful. Link gave a brief introduction. No matter it was old Antonio or Winston and Sharon, they did not expect that this Link would be so rampant. Since you have killed him, can't the matter end here? Old Antonio was terminally ill at this time, and he did not have much time. For his disappointed son, he cared more about his daughter. In addition, it seems that the Continental Hotel in New York has failed, otherwise his son would not have died. The next problem is the high table, which he does not need to face himself. Of course, things on the gambling table should have been solved on the gambling table. You broke the rules. Link said, now I ask you to gamble with me again in Las Vegas. This time I ask for 100 million yuan. You can disagree, then the entire Antonio family will be on my hunting list. Don't count on your so-called high table. I know you are composed of 12 criminal groups around the world. There is an elder above you, and there are more than a dozen continental hotels around the world. Your strength is just like this. If you make me feel angry, then I will eradicate all of you. Old Antonio was stunned. Is the other party arrogant? At least, what the other party said now has come true, such as the Continental Hotel in New York. Who are you? Old Antonio asked. Link said softly, I am who I am. I am just a professional gambler. You don't need to be afraid of anything because I am enough by myself. If I can kill all 12 directors of the high table and eliminate the forces behind you, do you think I will have a resounding title? Chapter 42 Agreement. You are listening at NovelsNew. You just for a title? Old Antonio asked in disbelief. How is it possible? Link said angrily, it was your son who took the initiative to provoke me. I must let people know that I am an existence that cannot be offended. Otherwise, what if it appears again next time? To put it bluntly, you are just a chicken that was killed, so that the monkeys that may appear in the future will be more honest, do you understand? You. Old Antonio did not expect that his son would be ruined like this. Okay, I promise you, tomorrow night in Las Vegas, still in that casino, I'll wait for you. Very good, you can prepare as many people as possible, including your so-called high table. There are few people there, we can kill as much as we want, and see who falls in the end. Link said happily. Then, he hung up the phone, then looked at Winston and said, now, you can call the so-called high table to gather your people, and have a gambling game and a battle in Las Vegas tomorrow. Link then stood up and walked out, completely ignoring Winston and Sharon. Winston frowned and looked at Sharon. Take people to clean up, we have to open tomorrow morning. Yes, sir. Sharon turned around and went out to clean up, while Winston took out his phone and dialed directly. Many people at the high table were called up by the phone, and then they were shocked to listen to Winston's story about a Chinese man who killed the Continental Hotel in New York with a flying knife. A group of killers and Santino's bodyguards were all killed, including Santino himself. The other party declared war on their entire high table. A bet, a battle, so what should they do next? Santino violated the rules, and no one cared about his death, but the other party also violated the first iron rule of the Continental Hotel, which prohibited killing in the Continental Hotel, and they came to the door with advance notice. If they were not dealt with, the Continental Hotel would lose its deterrence. It was necessary to fight. Immediately began to mobilize manpower. Link's performance was a bit weird. Was the flying knife so powerful? Collect his information immediately. However, Link's information is not much. He used to be a policeman in New York. The first time he fired a gun, he shot and killed more than 20 people. Every shot was a headshot. No wonder the other party had a regretful tone. He really could use a gun, then the high table must prepare a group of elites, and the number of people cannot be less. They can't do it in a casino hotel. The power over in Las Vegas is equally strong, even stronger than their high table. There are a group of shareholders behind each hotel, and they can't afford to offend. they can only wait until the gambling game is over and the other party comes out before taking action. The high table has always emphasized the iron law, so Las Vegas also has its iron law. Link called Jessica early the next morning and told her that he had a big poker game and asked her to stay at Tracy's house and not go out for the time being. Link is not worried about Jessica's safety. After all, if the high table really threatens him with a woman, then wait for him to go crazy. His super hearing, once fully turned on, can monitor the world. This time he couldn't use flying knives. After all, the opponent should have a lot of people, and he couldn't do it in Las Vegas, otherwise he would offend all the forces in the gambling city. The time in the evening was just right. After the gambling was over, he would drive to the desert and deal with all the killers there. Las Vegas, the last casino hotel. Link arrived in Las Vegas with a super big bag. This time he used special documents. The news of the underground world spread quickly. They got the information early in the morning. This time they dared not underestimate Link anymore. This is a killing god. Of course, what they valued most was the gambling in the evening. Link was sent directly to the most luxurious room. He could have a good rest, and even the meal was sent directly by the hotel. The gambling started at 8 o'clock in the evening. Many people came. The 12 directors of the high table were all there. They were very curious about Link. Entering the VIP box, Link selected cigars and bourbon. He then sat down. Old Antonio opposite him looked very bad. Link smiled and said, "How many people have you prepared? Let's solve it all at once. Don't always drag it out. I don't like it. This is your last chance. If I win, then the high table will compensate me. If not, then I will start a massacre." The 12 directors all raised their eyebrows and looked angry, but a very young white man stood up and said, "I am Greymont, the CEO of the high table. We have prepared 300 people for Mr. Lin, all elite. Is Mr. Lin satisfied?" Link looked at him and said, "Not very satisfied. Is this all your manpower? It's 8 o'clock now. After the gambling starts, you have 4 hours to prepare before midnight. You can gather as many people as possible. I will drive an off-road vehicle to leave the hotel and drive towards the desert at midnight. After all, this is Las Vegas. I am a professional gambler and I have to rely on it for my livelihood. 10 kilometers away from here, we will start the battle, and the winner will walk out of the desert." Greymont frowned. Does the other party have an ambush? However, he had already sent people to keep an eye on it, and no large number of armed personnel came to Las Vegas, whether from the air or on land. "Okay." Greymont said, "We agree." "Okay, then if I come out, will the high table agree to compensation and end the conflict?" Link asked again, "What is the specific amount of compensation?" "You seem to think you're going to win." Greymont asked, "Did you ambush someone in the desert?" "No, there's only one person, and the weapons are all here." Link opened the backpack under his feet and then showed it. There were guns inside. "When the time comes, you can deal with the bodies yourself, and the result will be clear at a glance. I need to ask for instructions." Greymont can no longer make the decision. "Okay, let's start." Link looked at Old Antonio. Old Antonio said, "Okay, I know you're good, but I also know your weaknesses. I'll go all in every time, and we'll bet on luck." Link was stunned, then laughed and said, "In this case, time is too hard to bear, and there's no fun. This is my only chance." Old Antonio had consulted Wilson Fisk before. Wilson Fisk got a lot of benefits, otherwise he wouldn't have said it. Link made up a weakness of his own in the first big poker game. Chapter 43 Beginning and End. You are listening at NovelsNew. Let's start. Link looked at the cards. According to the order in which the dealer dealt the cards, he had a big hand in this round, and Old Antonio couldn't cheat. It was good to end it in the first round. Old Antonio used $100 million in cash, while Link used Stark Industries stocks, which are now worth more than $90 million. Together with his own cash, it was exactly $100 million. Both parties paid real money, so it was good to end it in one round and put it in the pocket. Link didn't turn over the cards. It seemed that everyone was betting on luck. The final win or loss depended on luck. This bet involved 200 million funds, which was really unimaginable. Sure enough, Link won. He had 2 pairs, while old Antonio had nothing. Link laughed and said, "It seems that luck is on my side, so tonight I am destined to be the last one." He turned to look at Greymont and asked, "How is it?" "Okay, if you come out alive, then everything will end, and we will compensate you $1 billion US. Greymont's words made the 12 directors stunned. "Why so much?" Link nodded slightly and said, "Yes, your elders are wise. After all, if I win, you will lose at least 300 elite soldiers. I guess these are your most powerful and well-equipped direct gunmen. Once you fail, the high table will be very weak. You need to be on guard against your opponents. If I make another move, you might really be finished. But I don't like trouble. It's not bad to have such a result. You can give me $1 billion US through the casino as the funds won today, a total of $1.1 billion US. Link turned to look at the manager of the casino, who immediately said, "No problem at all. We are happy to serve you." "Okay, wait." Link leaned back, holding a bottle of wine, smoking a cigar, with his feet on the table, and swung leisurely. Time seemed to pass very slowly, but Greymont had sent helicopters and personnel to search the surrounding desert, and there was no trace of people at all. Greymont left the VIP box and waited outside for the search team's call. No one found anything in all directions, so he felt relieved. But then he felt incredible. How could this man win? At midnight, Link got up, picked up his backpack and walked out. "Please prepare a fully fueled off-road vehicle for me." "Okay, Mr. Lin." An off-road vehicle of the hotel soon stopped outside the main entrance. When Link walked out, someone handed him the key. Link got in the car, put his backpack on the passenger seat, checked the vehicle, and then started it. He opened the window, stretched out his left hand, raised it and shook it, then stepped on the accelerator and set off. He drove along the road to the outside of the city. After leaving the city, he immediately turned on the double flash and stepped on the accelerator to the bottom. Behind him, there was a long convoy with more than 100 cars and a helicopter following. As Link drove, he suddenly turned the steering wheel and the car rushed directly into the desert on one side of the road and drove deep into it. All the vehicles followed closely behind, forming a long dragon of lights. The helicopter did not rise too high, because it was pitch black in the desert. Once Link turned off the lights, they would lose each other's trace in an instant. Link looked at the distance and drove the off-road vehicle up and down in the desert. The distance of 10 kilometers was not so easy to reach, but it still had to be reached. The team behind had already notified everyone with the walkie-talkie to prepare for the battle, and Link looked ahead. The highest sand dune was his goal. He continued to step on the accelerator and rushed directly to the sand dune. When he passed the highest point, he turned off the double flash and all the lights. Suddenly, he seemed to disappear. At the same time, Link opened the door and jumped down with a backpack. After landing, he turned around and took a deep breath towards the sand dune, and then blew suddenly. Whoo! Suddenly, a strong wind blew the sand dune, and the yellow sand rushed towards the team behind. The helicopter suddenly encountered a strong airflow and had no time to react, and fell headfirst. Link started the top speed and rushed over with the yellow sand. He put the big bag on his back and took out a submachine gun. He got these weapons from S.H.I.E.L.D. After Link killed everyone, he still had time to return to his SUV. He held the steering wheel with both hands again. The car did not lose control. He drove slowly and began to circle. It was too shocking to return now. He blew the yellow sand just now to cover up his superpowers. No matter what equipment the other party brought or the satellite in the sky, they could not see anything. Link was very careful, and now he drove to a place with no wind, then lay down and slowly fell asleep, until the biological clock woke him up. He started the car again and returned to the way he came. When he appeared outside Las Vegas, the city was boiling. In line with the principle that everything can be gambled, the Las Vegas market opened last night, with hundreds of people betting, which aroused the interest of many people. Of course, no one believed that Link could come back alive, so his odds were extremely high, to an absurd degree. However, most people bet that Link would die. After all, this was free money. When Link came back, people were dumbfounded, especially the directors of the high table. They didn't expect that Greymont had been calling last night. The last news was that they were about to reach a distance of 10 kilometers, then, no more news came back. Greymont didn't send anyone to find them because the casino didn't allow it. To prevent them from cheating, even the high table must abide by the rules here. Link returned to the hotel, but he saw too many people at the door, so he turned around and went to the underground parking lot. The hotel staff immediately understood, and the security guards in the underground parking lot took action immediately to prevent anyone from harassing Link. The next day, Link returned to New York. When he came back, he was a real billionaire. This time there was a risk of being exposed, but it was not a big problem. The strong wind he created and the yellow sand in the sky blocked everything. As soon as Link came back, he received a call from Phil Coulson. "Lin, you are really surprising." "Nothing is surprising, it's just a small conflict." Link's mouth couldn't help but curl up. "By the way, can I have my own title?" "Of course, now people outside call you the God of Death." Coulson said, "Why didn't you ask me for this matter?" Chapter 44 Death. You are listening at NovelsNew. Coulson, doesn't the director want me to hide myself? Link said, "Now I hide myself very well, and no one will come to trouble me without being discerning in the future. At the same time, there can be some unexpected effects, but we can't see them yet." "Okay, you are right, but how did you do it?" Coulson believed that even Hawkeye and Black Widow could not face an armed force of more than 300 people at the same time. "A remote-controlled bomb set off the dunes, and then the yellow sand became my best cover." Link said, "And the desert can bury everything. They will never know how I did it." Smart approach. Coulson suddenly realized that this was the right thing to say, but he didn't expect that Link's combat ability was so strong. "It seems that the technical staff in the bureau can develop some good equipment for you. Good for placing your weapons." "That's a good idea." Link's eyes lit up. "How are you doing?" "We're almost done, we're going to take action soon, and the other party can't wait, so I'll take action right away." Coulson and the others are indeed planning to take action. With the constant urging of Shohahue, Fisk's days are also changing. Better off, after all, Daredevil has no intention of giving up and has been interfering with his business. The more anxious he is, the easier it is to be exposed. Therefore, S.H.I.E.L.D. discovered a large number of clues and connected all the hands and societies, so the action began without any disturbance. So what about a few old monsters who had lived for hundreds of years? S.H.I.E.L.D.'s equipment was not blown out, but Coulson felt like he was doing the director's private work, and a large amount of money went into the secret account. Link didn't know this. He was very free these days. After Jessica came back, she squeezed Link like crazy. She was really scared. The training in the past few days has been crazy. She has made rapid progress and can control her strength well. However, during the intense exercise with Link, she still won't take the initiative because she is worried that she still cannot control her strength. Link could only aggrieve himself for the time being and work harder. "Hey, Lin." Dr. Bruce Banner was very happy to see Link. "I'm almost under control." "Really?" Link was a little surprised, but it was right to think about it. As long as Bruce accepted Hulk, it would be easy to communicate with him. After all, it was him. But judging from Hulk's situation, it was when he was a child. Of blues. "Yes, you are right, that was the angry me when I was a kid." Bruce seemed to be in good spirits. "That's good." Link nodded slightly, "But I think it's best not to remerge between you." Bruce was stunned and asked, "Why?" "Because once you merge, Hulk's power will be weakened." Link said, "I think you should take time now to learn various fighting techniques to adapt to Hulk's fighting style. If I'm not wrong, Hulk's fighting style is too childish, just simple anger and smashing." "Yes." Bruce said, I have transformed a few times, and now I can see that everything the Hulk does is indeed without skill. That's right, learning how to fight is important to both you and Hulk. The point is that you are a genius. I believe it is not difficult to learn. Link said, now you don't even need a psychological evaluation, and you need to see the future path clearly for yourself. The road to the future. Bruce frowned and fell into deep thought, but soon he looked at Link and asked, you said that the future requires Hulk's combat power? Not only Hulk's combat power, but also your wisdom. Link reminded, if you and Hulk become one, then you will become weaker. You must know that General Ross will not give up easily. Once you become weak, you will no longer be an opponent of the military. Unless you are willing to join S.H.I.E.L.D., I think you may not be willing. Bruce didn't expect that S.H.I.E.L.D. wouldn't recruit him. Aren't you going to recruit me? No, the matters we are dealing with now can be handled by S.H.I.E.L.D. But for things that S.H.I.E.L.D. cannot handle, special mechanisms need to be activated. I don't know about this. Link spread his hands and said, I am a level 6 agent. And was promoted out of the norm because of my disguised identity. I need to collect intelligence on my own to see who has mastered the alien items. For us, any alien items are dangerous and unknown dangers. This aspect consumes most of the energy of the Bureau. A large number of agents are scattered around the world and penetrate into all aspects of human beings. Stop a crisis before it happens, because the technology of alien objects is too far ahead of ours. Bruce sighed and said, it seems you are right. I really can't merge with Hulk. He should exist. Don't worry, I will learn. Very good, let's see what you have done recently. The two chatted for most of the day. Bruce was indeed bored by himself, but Link still left before dinner, he has to rush home in the evening. 1.1 billion in funds, but Link can no longer find Langley. What this guy did was discovered by Fisk. His office is now in a panic, but luckily there are other shareholders. However, Link also ended his commission and transferred the property to the foundation. After all, this is his foundation. He deposited the funds into it, and Link became the investment director himself, and bought Stark Industries stocks again. However, the amount of funds this time was a bit huge. He also bought some Hammer Industries stocks, mainly because Hammer Industries stocks were low enough and there was not much room for decline. The two stocks were like two extremes, and the military could not let Stark Industries dominate alone, so Link was not worried about Hammer Industries going bankrupt. The funds were temporarily safe, and Link could wait until the big event started before selling the stocks. After all, Tony Stark would be missing for a while. Jessica was surprised to see such a huge amount of funds. She now imagined that Link was worried about her safety for such a huge game, and so on, which was considered to be rounding things off. Link did not explain it in too much detail. He is now a well-known figure in the underground world, and his title is the God of Death. Of course, people also know that as long as you don't provoke him, no matter what the problem is, things on the gambling table will be resolved at the gambling table. Las Vegas highly respects this. Chapter 45, Proposing a Plan. You are listening at NovelsNew. Fisk felt very strange. Suddenly, the people from the Hand and the Society disappeared. His pressure disappeared all of a sudden. He had the final say in Hell's Kitchen. However, he also could not get the funds and power of the Hand and the Society, but he had already controlled Hell's Kitchen. The gangs were afraid of him, Fisk. Instantly, he felt relieved, but there was a problem in front of him, that is, what to do with the land and real estate he had acquired before. His wish was indeed to transform Hell's Kitchen, which would bring huge profits, but he was not enough to support it, and what to do with the large number of poor people. It was not that he was kind, but that these people were unwilling to move away. After all, everyone was not stupid. Fisk felt relieved on the one hand and difficult on the other. In this strange situation, he invited Link. After all, he had heard about Link's affairs, and he had betrayed Link before. Link, invited by Vanessa, came to the banquet with Jessica. In a high-end restaurant, Fisk booked the place. Lynn, there are some things I need to apologize to you for. Fisk said. I know, but it's not an exaggeration, and Fisk, how do you know that's not a weakness I deliberately threw out? Link blinked at Fisk. Fisk was stunned, then laughed and said, I understand. Every time you play a game, you can make a layout for the next one. If I can afford you, I really want to get you involved. Oh, you mean the renovation of Hell's Kitchen? Link asked. Yes, the previous partner suddenly left, which put me in a dilemma. Fisk said, I don't know whether it can be carried out now. Then let's analyze it. Your current difficulty is funding, and the poor people in Hell's Kitchen. Link asked. Yes, I thought about directly acquiring most of the land and property rights here, and then rebuilding here to make it rich. Fisk's ambitions are good, and he has means, but the hand and the meeting are not for rebuilding here, but for destroying it. This is contradictory, so Fisk will not be smooth from the beginning. Link laughed and said, Fisk, this is not difficult. Really? Fisk was stunned. Vanessa also hurriedly said, Link, please help Wilson. Of course. Link raised his glass and said, I used to be a policeman here, I also know this place, and I know what Fisk does. Let's have a drink first, this matter can't be rushed. The other three raised their glasses, and after the four of them clinked their glasses, they each took a sip. Link then said again, First of all, you have to look at these poor people separately. Some of them are lonely elderly people who rely on meager income to survive, so you can't drive them away. If you use means, then Daredevil will not give up, right? Yes. Fisk admitted readily that this was a big problem. It's not difficult in my opinion. You can run 1 or 2 large nursing homes as a charity. Link said, you sign a nursing contract with them and take charge of their nursing problems, then this trouble will be solved. Even, this is your social image, and Vanessa is an art dealer, so she can hold charity events. Like some talented but unsuccessful painters, these people can be pulled over. It will be very helpful to Vanessa's career and your social status, and even tax avoidance. Don't forget the tax issue, the IRS doesn't care who you are, and the charity fund is a very good choice. Fisk's eyes lit up. There are indeed many benefits, and it can solve a lot of troubles, especially the issue of social status. He hopes others respect him. In addition, he cares about Vanessa the most, and he can help Vanessa instead of buying those paintings with his own money, which is Vanessa's most hated behavior. Vanessa's eyes also lit up. After they were together, Vanessa encouraged her man to stand up and stand in the public eye. This woman's ambition is no less than Fisk's, otherwise she would not have chosen this man. This man is dangerous enough, Link said. The remaining group is the guys who have no money. You can build a batch of low-rent apartments and then exchange contracts with them. The rent is the same as the original one, and it is a new house. They are naturally happy, but you decide on your apartment. For example, drug addicts and criminals, you can send them to drug rehabilitation centers or hand them over to the police. This does not violate the contract, and at the same time it can purify the environment of your apartment and allow those honest people to continue living. This can save a large number of apartments and reduce the number of troublesome people. This does not violate any laws or even principles. Daredevil has no reason to trouble you again. Of course, these all cost money, but there are many docks here. You can form a transport team. All the cargo ships arriving at the port will be unloaded and transported by your people, which can provide a large number of jobs. This can make money, and it can also make a large number of workers obey you. Fisk clapped his hands and said, it's a good idea, but the financial pressure will be great. Fisk, don't think about eating enough in one go. You can develop land piece by piece. This is your territory. Link reminded, how much is the annual income of an office building? In conjunction with the charitable fund, you can determine your tax-free limit slowly. No one else can come in here, because you have the final say, so you don't need to rush. Of course, it's equally important to reduce crime here, and I'm sure you understand that. Fisk asked doubtfully, Lin, why did you choose to help me? Because this is New York. Will the world be peaceful after leaving Hell's Kitchen? Link asked back, before you came here, there was chaos. After you came, there was some order, although this order is also full of sin. However, at least not so many people will die. I have no choice. So I can only choose you. At least there will be some order. Fisk understood and said, I never conceal my actions. In order to achieve my goals, the necessary means are indispensable. You also know this. Of course, that's why I'm saying this. You can have a two-pronged approach. On the one hand, you can develop large office buildings and high-end apartments, and on the other hand, you can start philanthropic undertakings. Link finally reminded. Chapter 46, Quick Action. You are listening at NovelsNew. The reason why Link gave Wilson Fisk advice was not because he was optimistic about him or wanted to cooperate, but because he knew that New York could not contain crime at all. Even if one of him is killed, there are still countless criminals trying to carve up the territory he left behind. How much can one daredevil do? S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't care about the little things in Hell's Kitchen. How much can Link do even if he takes action on his own? Instead of doing this, it is better to let the other party get on the right track. This is the best way Link can think of. He can't do anything else. Besides, it is none of his business whether there is chaos here. Wilson Fisk was very happy and asked, Lin, do you want to join in? Link shook his head and said, my money has been used to buy shares. I am not willing to participate in the business. I just hope that New York can be more peaceful. How you do it depends on yourself. This is a long-term undertaking that requires force to ensure it, but it does not rely entirely on force. Vanessa is your good helper. I believe you know what to do. Everything must look to the future. After the dinner, Link and Jessica left, and Fisk and Vanessa returned home, both very excited. Wilson, I think Lin has been reminding you. Vanessa did not go to change clothes, but went to pour 2 glasses of wine. After Wilson took it, he walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and said, yes, I can hear it, and I understand it. In order to realize my ideals, I bribed politicians and police officers, but to them, I was a pawn that could be abandoned at any time. But it's different now. You encouraged me to stand up, and Lin's idea was to let me take the initiative, so I can't be stained. There are some things that cannot be done. It just so happens that Mrs. Gao and the others have disappeared. I think there are 2 situations. They have achieved their goals, or they have been killed. Then now I just have to start over again, first improve my social status, and then do it bit by bit, but the gangs in Hell's Kitchen still have to be controlled. No one else is allowed to come in here, otherwise it will disrupt my plan. Vanessa stood beside him, held his arm, and said, I will help you. I know some potential painters. I will go talk to them. When you have a certain social status, then naturally someone will be willing to spend money and join our charity. This can also reduce your charity pressure. After thinking about it, the biggest problem in nursing homes is actually medical care. We can acquire a hospital in Hell's Kitchen. Fisk's eyes lit up and he said, yes, plus insurance, it won't cost us much. You are really a good helper to me. In the future I will run for district councilor, city councilor, and even mayor. Fisk took action the next day and called in his right-hand man, James Wesley. Wesley, I'm going to make plans again. Fisk said. Fisk, do you understand the current situation? Wesley asked curiously. You don't need to know. No matter what the situation is, we have to face it ourselves. Fisk looked at him and said, I hosted a banquet for Lin and his girlfriend last night, and Lin gave me a good idea. For Hell's Kitchen, we need to replan. You ask the designer to find 2 pieces of land, the land with the least potential for future appreciation. I want to build a nursing home, and at the same time let people talk to all the lonely elderly people in Hell's Kitchen, and exchange their property rights and lease contracts for admission to the nursing home. When the nursing home is built, they can go take a look and sign a contract if they are satisfied. You can even introduce them to lawyers and find the charitable foundation in Lin's name to cooperate with them. Wesley was stunned for a moment, and then said in surprise, this is a good idea. These people are afraid of living on the streets. If there is a nursing home, then they will definitely be willing. And charitable activities are tax-deductible, and there are many benefits. Do we want to establish a charitable fund? That's right. Fisk nodded. I want to establish a Vanessa Charitable Foundation, with Vanessa in charge. She will also hold many charity auctions in the future, all of which are connected together. In addition, I have to build low-rent apartments, exchange leases with the remaining people, and develop an office building on the edge of Hell's Kitchen, all at the same time. We don't need to rush. We can do this slowly with limited funds, plan the funds well, and then use the money earned from the office buildings to change Hell's Kitchen little by little. This is a long-term endeavor, my friend, and I need your best efforts. No problem. Wesley said, without their urging, we don't need to acquire all the property rights. It's better to do it bit by bit. In this way, we can also clean up those gangs. Keep them for now. Fisk said, I don't want them to enter Hell's Kitchen to compete with me. They are our barriers. Fisk took action. Allied Construction was now his, so he had the books cleaned up and started replanning based on available funds. He himself stood up again and held a press conference to announce the establishment of the Vanessa Charity Foundation. He would first build a nursing home in Hell's Kitchen for the lonely elderly in Hell's Kitchen. After ensuring their survival, they would purchase their property rights and lease contracts to ensure a smooth transition and their survival and life. At the same time, the first batch of low-rent apartments were built to ensure the living problems of the lower-class people, but the new low-rent apartments needed to ensure their public security, etc. His series of actions instantly brought him a lot of reputation, and the most shocked was Matthew Murdoch. As Daredevil, he knew Fisk best, which made him a little unbelievable, but he also noticed the disappearance of the hand and the meeting. These changes caught him off guard. He patrolled Hell's Kitchen more frequently at night and found that the situation was much better than before. This made him very strange, and he planned to keep an eye on Fisk first, but for half a month, he didn't find anything strange. Fisk was very busy every day, constantly attending various cocktail parties, and the United Construction Company had begun to measure and design on the selected land. The law firm was commissioned to take charge of the legal affairs of the elderly and widowed people, and to carry out joint actions with Link's Charity Foundation. Chapter 47 Confession. You are listening at NovelsNew. Jessica has been a little worried recently. With continuous training, she found that her strength and speed have improved. Of course, the speed has not improved much, so there is no need to worry about it, but the strength has increased again. Although the control has improved, the increase in strength again makes her worried. Tracy, my strength has increased again. She made an appointment with Tracy to have lunch that day, hoping to help her think of a solution. Tracy noticed Jessica's anxiety, so she said, you should be honest. But I dare not, I don't know what Lynn will think. Jessica said irritably, will he be afraid of me, do you understand? Of course I understand, but this will be discovered sooner or later. Tracy said, instead of being irritable here, it is better to say it directly, otherwise the longer the time, the worse things may be. And he may not care, after all, he likes you so much, love can tolerate everything. Jessica frowned, and she couldn't make up her mind. She was worried that Link would look at her with strange eyes, which was something she couldn't accept. Link also felt that Jessica had some emotional problems recently. She was trying her best to control her emotions. However, the two of them were together day and night, and Link was the most sensitive to Jessica's emotions. That night, after the two finished dinner, they hugged each other and fell on the sofa watching TV. Link asked, honey, what's wrong with you recently? I feel that you are very irritable. Are you in trouble? Jessica's body was obviously stiff, and she began to struggle in her heart. Lynn, if I am a little different from you, what would you think? Finally, she asked it out. Different? Link laughed in his heart, but it was time to confess to Jessica. Otherwise, if it went on like this, Link was worried that she would suffer from depression, which would be the worst case. Yes, I may be a little different from you. Jessica's voice was very low, and most people might not hear it. Tell me. Link asked. I have great power. Jessica said. Really? Link looked curious. I don't believe it. Jessica sat up from Link's arms, then reached out and grabbed one leg of the coffee table, and lifted it up with one hand, very steadily, and the things on it did not fall down. Then she put it down steadily, then looked at Link and asked, "Did you see it?" That she was very nervous, but what Link did next shocked her. Link also reached out and grabbed one leg of the coffee table, and lifted it up steadily, and the things on it also did not fall down. Finally, he put it down again, and Jessica stared with her eyes open and her mouth open. Link said, "Isn't it the same? This is impossible." Jessica looked unbelievable. "This is wooden, and there is a marble tabletop on top." Link laughed. "Haha Jessica, you are not the only special one in this world. Every time I see you restrained during exercise, I think it's cute." "You." Jessica blushed and rushed over and kissed Link's mouth. It took a long time before they separated. "Today I want to be on top," that the two of them entangled endlessly, and finally went to the bedroom. Jessica acted very wild, and her suppressed mood was released. Fortunately, the building of the apartment was strong enough, and the bed was strong enough, otherwise it would be easy to get into trouble. In the past, the two usually had to exercise for more than an hour, but today it only took half an hour, but it was more enjoyable. "Huh?" Jessica was sweating all over, lying on Link's chest, and then she asked, "What's wrong with you?" "I'm Superman." Link said. "I'm asking you seriously." Jessica said, a little unhappy. "I'm serious too." Link hugged Jessica with both hands, then floated up and flew towards the bathroom. Jessica didn't recover for a long time. Entering the bathroom, Link landed, stood under the shower, and turned on the shower. "It's true." Jessica came back to her senses after being showered by hot water. "Is that you in the comics?" "No, I'm not a Kryptonian." Link turned around and filled the bathtub with water. "Don't be surprised, you don't know the reality of the world. I will train you in the future. Your control of power is too poor. Although you don't need to fight, you still need to protect yourself." "Okay." Jessica was finally relieved, her hands around Link's neck, her legs directly clamped Link's waist, and she started a war again. Link hurriedly took insurance measures. He didn't want to be a father yet. The next day, after the two got up, they went to the Foundation first to arrange the Foundation's affairs. Now, because of the joint action with the Vanessa Charity Foundation, there are still a lot of things to do. Afterwards, Link took Jessica to find a factory. They needed an abandoned factory and then renovated it. This would be the place where Link trained Jessica. Although she had found a coach before, she couldn't fight with the opponent or hit the sandbag by herself, which could not control her fist and strength. In Link's opinion, it was best to use firearms. This was for the time being. Jessica only needed to protect herself. However, after looking at some places, Link found that it was not ideal. That is, the walls were too thin, so it was better to buy land and rebuild it. He needed thick walls so that when the two of them fought, the house would not collapse, and strict confidentiality measures were needed to prevent anyone from prying into their secrets. So Link directly bought a warehouse near the apartment, which was not very large, and demolished it and rebuilt it. It was rebuilt in the name of a private gym, with one underground floor and one above ground floor, but the height of the ground floor was designed to be very high, 10 meters high. There was no window, and central air conditioning would be installed here. The whole was poured with reinforced concrete, with only one entrance. The underground floor was a shooting range, which needed to be soundproofed, and safety measures must be taken. After all, guns would be placed here in the future. The responsible construction company did not doubt anything. After all, there was a shooting range, so such a request was reasonable. Isn't it reasonable for a rich man to build a shooting range for himself in the city? Jessica also cancelled her personal trainer. After all, personal trainers were not safe and could easily discover her secrets. The reason why this place was built relatively high was to allow Jessica to practice jumping and control the height and distance of her jumps. There were also various high-altitude movements to increase her flexibility. Chapter 48 is Water Sweet. You are listening at NovelsNew. In this way, another 3 months later, the law firm's office building was completed. The law firm moved in, and then began to recruit people. We had hired a few people before. After all, the office we rented before was too small to accommodate many people, and Link and Jessica's private gyms had also been built. The ground is covered with thick rubber floors. It is empty inside now, but the basement has been laid out, with a 50-meter shooting range, weapons cabinets and other infrastructure. All lighting here uses lights, and ventilation is provided by central air conditioning. Such a sealed building is quite strange. However, surveillance systems have been installed around the area, and surveillance is very strict, including at law firms. Link attaches great importance to the use of the monitoring system. This is a measure to ensure safety and a necessary means to protect one's own secrets, because you don't know when you will be noticed. For example, if he killed more than 300 people in the desert, no one would really suspect anything. The main reason is that his speed is too fast, and the opponent doesn't have much chance to counterattack. Of course, it's not that he didn't fire at all, but this is also the biggest doubt, that is to say, there was no one alive at the scene, and nothing was photographed. The desert covered a lot of things. It's not a big problem. No one doubts Link's combat effectiveness. At most, everyone just doubts how high his combat effectiveness is. Doesn't Link know this? He knew it, but he did it on purpose. After all, he might encounter some trouble in the future, so it would be better to shock everyone at once. Even Nick Fury doubts anything, but he will not act easily. After all, Link is his subordinate. The time of contact between the two parties is too short now. If Nick Fury does something drastic, he will easily lose Link's outstanding combat power. Are there not many special people? S.H.I.E.L.D. has many special groups of people, but they are not suitable for inclusion in its Avengers plan. Nick Fury's comparison of combat effectiveness is that of the Kree fleet. Even Hawkeye, Black Widow and Link are all unqualified, but he must do this, otherwise how can he do it if there are no people of his own among the Avengers? In the law firm, Link and Jessica were both there, as well as Matthew Murdock and Fergie Nelson. You too. Now that we have moved here, the office is officially on the right track. Jessica said, some of the previous contracts will be transferred here. For example, my driver's contract will be transferred to the Foundation. Honey, where's the car? Link thought for a while and said, let this be considered private. After all, what if I want to change my car in the future? The Foundation focuses on charity, so you should be responsible for this aspect yourself. Okay, then the vehicles will not be included in the Foundation. Jessica nodded. Everyone's contract will be re-signed as before, and the office will be responsible. In addition, recruitment should be done quickly, and a group of assistants can be recruited first. Now we are working with the Vanessa Charitable Foundation. There are too many people who need funding. Although it is not a big problem, it is very cumbersome. I don't want any problems to arise. We are just cooperating with the other party, and everything is based on the interests of the client. However, the contract is basically the same, but the paperwork is relatively cumbersome. Fergie Nelson said, Miss Jones, there is no problem in this regard. It is not easy to find formal lawyers, but there are many graduate intern assistants. Especially when two charitable foundations cooperate, there are so many cases that they hope to encounter. Matthew Murdock said, I think we should be careful enough. After all, Wilson Fisk is not a simple person. Link laughed and said, Matthew, I know what you are worried about. I was a policeman before. I am not unfamiliar with this person. I know who he is, but the issues here need to be looked at separately. Matthew Murdock frowned and asked, how to look at it separately? The first is Hell's Kitchen. You are no strangers to this place. What it was like in the past and what it is like now are for comparison. Link said, because you must admit that evil cannot be completely eradicated, especially in this place, New York. The second thing is to establish some order. No matter whether this order is good or bad, it must be compared. In the end, people can't count on politicians, the police, or even the law. It doesn't make much difference. Matthew Murdock was silent for a moment, then said, then sin is allowed to exist. Matthew, this is your problem. You can't raise the problem without giving me a solution. Link said, we all know the problem, but what's the solution? Not talking about New York as a whole, just talking about Hell's Kitchen. Everyone knows there is a lot of crime here, but what's the solution? Those politicians thought Hell's Kitchen sounded bad, so they called it Clinton District in West Midtown. But did they solve the problem? They can't even solve the problem of lead poisoning in water pipes. My apartment has purification equipment and it's installed here, but what about ordinary people? They still drink poisonous tap water, even substandard tap water. The water is sweet. Matthew's face turned red. Link was right, he asked a question, but he couldn't come up with a solution to the problem. And what about the politicians? Can they solve anything? Link took out a cigarette, lit one and started smoking. After a while, he spoke again and said, "What Fisk is doing now is the method I gave him. As a partner, we have to keep an eye on these contracts and watch him fulfill the contracts. This is what we can do. But those drug addicts and criminals will be driven out of the low-rent apartments later. These low-rent apartments will be used by those who abide by the law. The reason why I am willing to give Fisk some advice is because he is at least willing to do things. Although he is also not clean, he does things. He also has the ability to do it. If someone else develops Hell's Kitchen, it will be swallowed up in a few days. It's like I reminded him not to swallow it all at once. He couldn't swallow it before, and he can't swallow it now. He can do it slowly as a career. I will give you the same words. You can't solve the problem of crime all at once, so do it little by little, at least make Hell's Kitchen better." Fergie Nelson was anxious for a long time, and immediately said, "Mr. Lin is right. We can do it little by little. Now at least let those elderly people have someone to take care of them, right?" Chapter 49 Fisk is trying. You are listening at NovelsNew. Matthew Murdoch is like a holy mother. He doesn't want his hands to be stained with blood. He doesn't kill when he goes out to fight crime every day, but there are too few things he can do, so what if he takes down Fisk? There will be people who appear in the future. This is something that cannot be cut off. Fisker is at least doing something. How about someone who just wants to make money? What will happen? Matthew was very confused at this time. He really only talked about the problem without any solution. Link pointed it out directly. You are right to raise the problem, but what is the solution? You can't bring it up yourself and then expect others to solve it. That's going too far. The two parties no longer have any disputes for the time being and are focusing on completing the contract. Fisker is not idle either. He is actively appearing in major media. At the same time, a new company was established at the dock to be responsible for the loading, unloading and transportation of the dock. All the building materials needed by the United Construction Company must be disembarked here. The cost of shipping by sea is lower, and landing directly nearby saves transportation costs. Fisk recruited all the workers in Hell's Kitchen, and his people were responsible for the security of the dock. Hell's Kitchen gangs who want to go ashore here must obtain his consent. The Irish gang and the Russian gang, which were the most powerful in Hell's Kitchen before, had suffered heavy losses before. Coupled with the subsequent blow from the peace conference, Fisk is now the most powerful. Wesley, do you have any other thoughts on Hell's Kitchen? Fisk asked. Wesley is a talented person who can speak several languages. He said, the hospital is not a big problem, but the expansion is not possible yet. It will take up a lot of our funds, so we can only buy it first. The other is a large supermarket. We can build a comprehensive one, so we can make more money, such as catering and entertainment. I mean normal entertainment. We can also build a red light district to concentrate some of the gang's businesses and attract outsiders to come here to have fun. At the same time, we can also clean up other streets and street girls. Fisk was very satisfied. He looked at Wesley and said, sure enough, your talent can only be reflected at this time. Letting you be responsible for street problems is overkill. I can do anything, as long as I can help you realize your ideal. Wesley regarded Fisk as a friend, and Fisk also regarded him as a friend. By the way, I heard that the heir to the Rand group is back. Fisk then asked. Yes, the Rand family suffered a plane crash before, but it was never discovered, so their shares could not be processed. Now the heir has come back, proved his identity, and got the shares back. Wesley nodded. The Rand Group is also here in Hell's Kitchen. It's not that there aren't big companies and high-rise buildings here, it's just that there are relatively few. The value of Hell's Kitchen cannot be fully enhanced. How is this person? Fisk looked concerned. He doesn't care about things. After all, he doesn't seem to have received education in so many years, and he doesn't understand the group's affairs. The two Meacham brothers are still responsible for the management. Wesley thought for a while, and then said, in addition, S. father, Harold Meacham, appears to be alive. Oh. Fisk was stunned. I didn't know about this matter before, but with the disappearance of Mrs. Gao and others, many things have been revealed. Wesley said, the matter of Harold Meacham may be related to Mrs. Gao and others. So that's it. Fisk suddenly realized, it seems that Alexandra and Madame Gao do have their own goals. They disappeared so cleanly, including on the island country. I suspect that they were destroyed by other forces. Lost. You should be more careful now and bring more people with you. I understand that they can be destroyed quietly. I suspect it is a government agency. Wesley also has his own suspicions. Such a huge force has not touched us, so we are safe now. Fisk was still worried. We can't be careless. The situation is now the best for us. All previous drug, human and other transactions have been cut off. We are going all out to build a red light district. We can't let those gangs have no food to eat, otherwise they will act recklessly. Let them know about this and let us work together to attract customers. Security must be good at night. Let the West Central City branch strengthen patrols at night. Come on, attack me. Link faced Jessica in the gym. Use the fighting skills you learned and attack at will. I'm coming. Jessica rushed over directly, followed by a straight punch. Link dodged and said at the same time, the intention is too obvious. You must know how to deal with the truth and avoid letting others see your intention. Pay attention to your steps, the consistency of your attacks, don't be too rigid, and use various techniques flexibly. Techniques are used to help you exert your strength, not to hurt the enemy. It is your strength that hurts the enemy. Link was dodging and teaching at the same time. Jessica couldn't hit him at all. However, Jessica had great strength and sufficient endurance. Now that she could let go and attack, she could persevere. The two now spend several hours training here every day, including fighting and firearms. Link chose Glock 26 for Jessica. This gun is relatively small and fits in Jessica's hand. Jessica is very strong, so the recoil of the gun has no effect on her. The key is the shooting action and muscle memory. This requires more practice. Anyway, Link bought a lot of bullets and let Jessica train. Jessica let go of her hands and feet, and the effect of her training was significantly improved, and even her ability was greatly improved. The two did not even exercise at home, but directly in the gym, where there was no need to worry about the bed and floor collapsing. Jessica can go all out, and Link still needs to control, but the strength has been strengthened a lot, making Jessica always exhausted. The relationship between the two has made rapid progress again, and they both feel that the other is the most suitable for them, unknowingly. Winter has arrived in New York, and Stark Industries has received good news. The research and development of the Jellicoe missile has been completed and entered the test stage. When the selection of the Vertex Award next year begins, Tony Stark has the highest voice. Link's long-awaited plot is about to unfold. After the appearance of the Big Brother Iron Man, the curtain of the Marvel Universe is about to open. In fact, this is what is said in the movie, and Link believes that the beginning of chaos on Earth was Odin's aging and the death of the Ancient One. If the two of them were still alive, Thanos would not dare to come to Earth. Chapter 50 Stock Manipulation. You are listening at NovelsNew. No matter what, the Avengers will soon kick off, and interesting things will begin. Similarly, the Infinity Stones are getting closer. Although Link has entered S.H.I.E.L.D. and is still a level 6 agent, he is still a peripheral staff member and cannot enter the core at all. He shows his strength in the hope of entering the Avengers in the future. It is not bad for S.H.I.E.L.D. not to go deep into the core. After all, S.H.I.E.L.D. is still Snake S.H.I.E.L.D. now, and it is simply a matter of being confused. He does not have to enter the core to wade into the muddy water, just wait for the beginning. In this way, time entered 2008, Fisk's nursing home opened, the construction was good, and the facilities inside were very complete. The lonely elderly in Hell's Kitchen also signed a contract to move in. Their meager pensions belonged to the nursing home. They had no money themselves, but all things would be taken care of by the nursing home. All their property rights and lease contracts were transferred to the United Construction Company, so Fisk had more land and property rights. The first batch of low-rent apartments were also put into use and began to be exchanged, and the first office building had already started construction, and everything was moving in a good direction. This is a matter of charity, and in terms of making money, the dock controlled by Fisk is on the right track, which has really solved a large number of employment problems, and the red light district project has also begun. Each gang has its own part here, which will be their main income, so the security of Hell's Kitchen has improved a lot. After all, only when it is safe, people will come to play, and there are many tricks. The girls here come from all over the world, which is dazzling. Nightclubs, discos, and clubs have their own characteristics, and even large casinos have been opened here, which really attracted a group of people to Hell's Kitchen. Every night, gang members and police will patrol, which makes Matthew Murdock very depressed. Is this good or bad? Fisk cut off the landing channels for drugs and population, which made gangs outside Hell's Kitchen look for new docks. For a time, there was a shortage of supply. Fisk began to act, turning out the addicts in Hell's Kitchen and sending them to drug rehabilitation centers. To this end, Vanessa launched a charity auction and selected the works of a less well-known painter, but his paintings were very good. Link was also among the invited guests. He attended with Jessica and bought a painting for $20,000 and hung it in the guest room. The auction was very successful. After all, the banner was to help those drug addicts, but in fact, they were cleared out of Hell's Kitchen. It would be difficult to come back. However, if they can quit drugs, they may not get a new life, but this is too difficult, and everyone knows it is difficult. Vanessa was radiant at the auction. She got what she wanted, but this was just the beginning. After that, she will frequently go in and out of New York's upper class. The Apex Awards were held as scheduled. Link paid attention to it. Stark Industries was discussing the purchase of Jellicoe missiles with the military at this time, and Stark Industries stocks rose again. Link took this opportunity to sell all his stocks and turned around to buy Hammer Industries stocks. At this time, the stock of Hammer Industries fell slightly, and Link made a direct move without hesitation. At this time, his $1.1 billion had become nearly $1.2 billion. The dividends were given to the charity fund. When he finished the operation, the news of Tony Stark's disappearance finally came back. The stock of Stark Industries fell by about 3% at once, while the stock of Hammer Industries began to rise. Coulson called Link and asked him to find out some information from the upper class in New York to see if there was any gain, and then there was no other action. In fact, this matter is also a bit strange. S.H.I.E.L.D. should have been keeping an eye on Tony Stark. Didn't S.H.I.E.L.D. take action when he was kidnapped? Or S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't expect that Stark would be kidnapped under the protection of the military? After all, this matter sounds like a joke. It is unbelievable that Stark was taken away by the U.S. military. As time went on, Stark disappeared for longer and longer, which was naturally the biggest blow to Stark Industries. However, because Stark Industries had too many profitable projects, the stock price did not fall much. Link also analyzed that Obadiah Stane, as the mastermind behind the scenes, could not have allowed Stark Industries' stock price to plummet without preparation. However, Hammer Industries benefited from this. As time went on, Justin Hammer hinted on various occasions that Stark was dead, and the stock price of Hammer Industries rose significantly, making Link a lot of money. In this way, more than 2 months after Stark disappeared, Link began to slowly sell Hammer Industries stocks, and his funds reached $1.3 billion. Buy low and sell high, Link made more than $100 million in 2 operations, most of which were profits from the appreciation of Hammer Industries stocks. Coincidentally, Link also passed the tax season, so he could patiently wait for Stark's return and announce the closure of the weapons department. Stark Industries' market value was $200 billion, and it plummeted by more than 55%. It was less than $100 billion. Link was ready to short Stark Industries and make a good profit. He directly adopted a tenfold financial leverage, and then borrowed Stark Industries stocks worth more than $10 billion from various financial institutions for a period of 1 month. After doing all this, Stark had been missing for 3 months, and Link had also waited for the news that Stark had been rescued. The stock price began to rise. Link still held the stock and did not sell it. He waited until the day before Stark returned, and then he took action and sold all the stocks at once, but it did not affect the stock price. There were countless people rushing to buy. If Tony Stark did not announce the closure of the weapons department when he came back, then Link would go bankrupt, but he was not afraid. At most, he would go to Africa, capture Ulysses Klaue, rob his vibranium, and then sell him to Wakanda. Stark came back, and after getting off the plane, he was going to hold a press conference. Link was in the office of the Foundation, watching the press conference on TV. Jessica sat next to him. She didn't know about Link's financial operations. Jessica took a sip of the wine glass and asked, "Why do you pay attention to him?" "Of course I have to pay attention to him. The development of our foundation depends on him," Link said with a smile, and then continued to stare at the TV. Jessica stopped talking. She found that her boyfriend was paying extra attention to her today.